or I haven't seen the final figures for 2011, but I suspect it's about the same. Well, the chief says that that policy is key to reducing crime, and as Attorney Hall referred to, he has this chart, and on I know you can't see it in the back, but he's got one line on the chart. Here's the number of police stops. They're going up. And here's the number of certain types of crime, and they're kind of going down. And so the bigger the difference is between the number of stops and the amount of crime, the more effective he claims that his policy is. He's even gone as far as to say that there's an absolute correlation between increasing vehicle stops and a decrease in crime. I'm not a statistician. As Judge Stamper said in the introduction, my academic background is in history. But absolute correlation doesn't seem to make any sense to me. And I think maybe the chief would like to retract that because he kind of is overselling the rationale for his policy here. Because there are lots of other things that may affect this. The weather. It could be the incarceration rate. It could be the economy, all sorts of things. Now that's not to say that there certainly isn't a decrease in certain types of crime when you make all those stops. Sure, if you had an officer on every street corner, you'd have less crime on that street corner. Maybe not in the alley in the back, but you'd have less crime on that street corner. So there's something going on here, but frankly, the public really doesn't have all the detail here. But let's say that it has some effect in reducing crime. Okay. So what else is going on? Well, you could also have a chart or a graph, and you've got a rising line here of the numbers of innocent people who are being stopped. And the chief admits that lots of innocent people are being stopped. That's part of the policy. As he says, he wants to sort of fill up the public space so people know that officers are out there. But that may mean that, it's really a policy, and people get stopped regardless of whether or not there was a good reason to stop them, much less technical legal standards like reasonable suspicion or probable cause. So that's the policy that's out there. He just got his contract renewed. The Common Council and the mayor aren't about to fire him anytime soon, so this policy is going to be moving forward. And it's our obligation as citizens, and many of you who are community leaders, to try to assess this and get as much information about it and figure out how to make this a better way to do policing here in Wisconsin and Milwaukee. So if you have this proactive policing policy where you're stopping, tens of thousands of innocent people, what do you sacrifice by having that proactive policing policy? Well, number one, you sacrifice response time because calls for service can't be responded to as quickly because officers are out there making stops. Response time is probably not the best, certainly not the only measure of police effectiveness, so let's put that on the side. The other thing that happens is that you lose the trust of some community members at least. If you have a bad experience with the police, like Mr. Glass did, and it may be anecdotal, but it certainly gets possible for ex-offenders to reintegrate into society. A lot of the targeting that goes on is to try to disrupt people who the police department identify as the bad guys. And very often these are people on probation or parole, and they get stopped and they have a conversation and they want to get inside their head, and they'll say things like, I'll be giving your probation officer a call or whatever. Well, if you look at the the lack of resources to reintegrate ex-offenders into the community, the fact that there are so few jobs, the fact that probation officers no longer are there to help them, but they're really to trip them up and get them back into jail, not because they've necessarily committed a new crime, but because they violated their parole. This really just exacerbates that. But of course, a fourth thing that happens when you have this policy is transparency is lost, and also racial profiling analysis of traffic stop data, it's made pretty useless. So he's giving up a management tool that police managers in many jurisdictions find helpful to try to identify which officers, which squads, which shifts, which districts have problems that need to be addressed. So he's basically giving up this management tool in order to have his data-driven system. So what can the public do now? Fortunately, the Common Council took some action after the state legislature repealed the traffic stop data collection law last year. Last summer, Alderman Coggs introduced a resolution. I believe that Alderman Wade supported it, and it passed 14-1, asking the police to continue to collect data and then to provide a report to the Common Council beginning in January 2012, so this past January, on what they find in the data regarding racial stops. I talked yesterday to the Fire and Police Commission Executive Director, Mike Tobin, and he tells me that, oh yeah, we haven't forgot this resolution, and we're going to be working on this report as soon as we get done with the use of force report, and we're going to have this come out. Well, the ACLU and the NAACP, and I suspect lots of other people, including members of the Common Council, could be very interested in this report. But on the basis of the analysis that we've seen so far, it's going to be pretty difficult to get at the issue of disparities and where they may be happening at the below the district level. So the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, we're going to be trying to get a look at that data too, and I already have, somewhere, I have a visual here. I already have on a CD all the data from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation and the Office of Justice Assistance that was submitted by police departments all around the state on traffic stop data collection. So we need to analyze this just as people are going to have to analyze the information that the department is still keeping. We won't be able to do it at a district level. We'll have to dig down and get at it to get other things out of it. So I'm over time, and hopefully when we get to questions and answers, you can explore some more of this.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Now, I want us to hear some